Hi Chase, how are you? Everything okay with you?
Yeah, everything's great. How are you today?
I'm fine. Your debut album, The Burn of Faith, will be released on the 24th of March. What can the metal world expect from this album?
What they can expect is we have tons and tons of influences from each person in the band. That being said, there's a little bit of metalcore in the album. There's a little bit of deathcore in the album. There's a little bit of new wave of heavy metal in the album. We just wanted to show that we can do a lot more than just being pigeonholed into like deathcore and just riding that wave. We want to show that we can do other things as well, like with Ricky's singing, and having him do something different that he's not used to, as well as like the features on some of these tracks. Like we've got crazy heavy hitters that I'm very, very, very stoked to release to the world. I'm very, very stoked on it.
Yeah, and if the reactions are as good as they were on your first EP on Oblivion, it might be one immediate classic, I think. Um,
Thank you so much.
now, this is, as I said, this is your debut, and so maybe it would be good if you could present the band to the Portuguese metal scene. So, who is of Sulfur?
Of Sulfur is a Las Vegas based deathcore band. We started out, our vocalist is Ricky Hoover, who's ex Suffocate. And we pretty much started out during the pandemic. Ricky was interested in making music again, and we had a mutual friend, so he reached out to me, and we kind of just started writing over the pandemic, and it was just going to be like a fun project, and it kind of turned into something a little bit more. But Of Sulfur's main writing motive is anti-church, anti-organized religion. There's been so much suffering due to religion in the world for centuries upon centuries that we felt it was important to bring to light some of that stuff, as hard as it may be. And Ricky's always been on that train. I've always been on that train, and it's like that's pretty much who we are in a nutshell.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned the anti-religious theme, I think there's a difference between Oblivion and the Burn of Faith. There is,
Mhm.
in Oblivion, you were clearly more anti-religious and blasphemous. Now in Burn of Faith, the lyrics sound more like, more emotional, like, for example, Earthen, or if you're like trying to question religion. What made you like change this? Was it something you planned or just happened?
Um, it's kind of just something that happened. With that, I mean, you can only talk about one subject for so long before it's almost like, you
Mm,
know, beating a dead horse, right?
yeah,
And with Earthen, we still have that question of, the tagline, what kind of God would test a child?
mhm,
And it's something a little bit more, it's something a little bit more that everybody can relate to. And like that just was, it wasn't planned that way, but it was something Ricky was so passionate about, and so he pretty much wanted to do a tribute to his nephew, and that's the way he felt about it, and people related with it. So there are tons of themes like that on The Burden of Faith, and we even have a song that is completely not really about religion whatsoever. You can relate it to religion, but it's actually about the music industry, and that's our song Befouler. And it's about how two-faced people can be, and they'll be
yeah.
cool to you to your face and then talk behind your back or want to see you fail. So there's more themes, and I just feel like it's because you can only do the burn the church and stuff for so long before it kind of gets you know you're talking about the same thing over and over and over again. We just wanted
Yeah.
to vary it up.
Yeah, and what is your aim from now on? You know, is to continue to be like Oblivion, or more in a way like Burden of Faith?
I would say more so the Burden of Faith.
Mhm.
You know, Oblivion was great. I loved the EP, and we wanted it to be super crushing when it came out, and we were more concerned of, we wanted to leave an impact on what, you know, a heavy band we could be. And on this one, there's a lot more substance. There's a lot
Mhm.
more musically and lyrically. You know, I've said it in a couple other interviews and like on my own personal page as well. Matt, our old guitar player, helped write the album, and some of the riffs that he had were insanely hard, and like I had to kind of step up and learn how to play these like riffs that I wasn't used to, you know, and he made me a better guitar player for it. So I think Ricky as well kind of stepped up to the plate with singing and lyrically. So, you know, there's a lot more substance. We've grown as musicians, we've grown as people over like the last year and a half. Um, and you know, we kind of just want to show people we can do a lot more.
Yeah, and you also grew as a band, I think, and that also reflects on your sound.
Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and how did you come up with the name to the band?
So Ricky actually thought of that. He was literally sitting in his living room, and him and his wife were talking about it. And he wanted something blasphemous, you know, sulfur, hell, like, you know, brimstone, you know, stuff like that. And he was like, what about sulfur? And we just did replace the F with a V. And I was like, actually, that kind of has like a nice ring to it, you know, when he told me about it. And pretty much what solidified that name was when we got the logo done, and the logo was just so cool looking. We were like, oh, we have to stick with this. So it was a mix between the artwork and Ricky's good idea.
Yeah, and as you said, you replaced the F with a V. Why decide to do that? It's like I know it's common inside the at least the black metal scene, but why did you decide to replace that F with a V?
It's pretty much exactly the reason. Just true cult. We wanted to be, you know,
Yeah,
as we wanted, you know, being a blackened deathcore band, we wanted to bring that blackened part and kind of
mhm.
push that forward. So what better way? And like some people, you know, some people will say, oh, it's cheesy, oh, Behemoth wants their V back or whatever. But I mean, it's cool, and like we don't care about that type of stuff. It's just like, you know, we love being in the band and it's fun for us. So, you know, we kind of just take everything with a grain of salt. And it was just kind of like a whatever thing.
Yeah, and then you also added that dropping F and adding a V to to basically everything else, to the track list and also in the lyrics, right?
We sure did. We're in a way, we're like, you know, we're kind of just like internet trolls. We see that people hate something and I'm like, oh, okay, let's just do it
Let's do it.
even more, you know? So I mean, if you didn't like it before, you're really not going to like it now, or if you loved it before, you're going to
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yeah, and that also is that thing is also very common in bands like Chaos Magic, or I think it was firstly used by the Temple of Psychic Youth.
Mhm.
How big of an influence were these bands to of Sulfur?
Well, I can tell you that mine and Ricky's biggest influences were definitely bands like Behemoth or Dimmu Borgir.
Mhm.
You know, we absolutely love the symphonic elements in both of those bands, and we just love how crushingly heavy that they are. Um, you know, I even bands like, you know, Emperor, you know, all those bands too. I actually got to see Emperor live last year, which was one of the best experiences of my life. Um, you know, I've always loved symphony in metal. It just sounds so, it's crazy how they can make something so elegant while still being so just
Crushing.
crushingly
Yeah.
heavy. Yeah. Yeah, and so like those bands were a huge influence on me and Ricky personally. And then our drummer Levi is like a straight up like black metal guy. So like he was in a band called Empyrean Throne, and he played in a lot of other black metal bands. So the fact that he's playing for a deathcore band now is kind of interesting, but like that's our like true black metal cult guy.
Yeah, and how was your composition process to this album?
I'm sorry, one more time.
How was your composition process to this album? Writing songs.
Gotcha. Yeah. With that, it was literally me and Matt would get into a room. Ricky would come every once in a while. He was more focused on like the lyric writing, but he would come into the room and give his opinion, which was greatly appreciated, and sometimes Ricky would have really good ideas, even though he couldn't like physically like play like what he wanted. He would be like, he was really good at expressing what he wanted in the song. But me and Matt would get into a room, we'd hash some ideas out, we'd riff, and it's crazy because like back in the day I would just get in a room and jam with everybody. Like you all had to be there in person, but now it's literally like you sit in front of a computer, you program the drums, you go and you have a riff and you build off of that riff. And I write in pop structure. So everything on the album is like intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, like breakdown or bridge, double chorus, outro, like type deal. It's pretty much the same formula. And I like that style because with the music that we write, it's almost like catchy deathcore with hooks, especially like a song like Earthen, like that hook is throughout the entire song. So I really enjoyed writing in pop structure, and it was literally me and Matt getting in a room and hashing things out for hours at a time. So yeah, it was like for the like last probably since from December 2021 to June 2022, we would just get in a room and write together.
As I said, after Oblivion, expectations were high, because it was a very well received EP and expectations were just very high. Did that influence your composition process?
Absolutely. It's like when something like that happens, you definitely want to one up it, and sometimes it's like, man, how are we going to do that? Like, I don't know if we can do that. But with this, it was like, I feel like the EP was a very good starting point because we were just kind of figuring out what exactly we wanted to sound like. Because in that EP, you have influences from like gent and deathcore, metalcore, black metal, like all that stuff. And it was kind of like just a weird mashup of everybody in the band at the time. But with this album, we really nailed down the sound while still keeping some elements of the EP. It's pretty much the EP on steroids. So it definitely was something that we thought about during the writing process. We wanted to live up to that, but we also did want to one up it too.
Yeah, and I think you did it. I mean, no pressure, but I think the next one is even better.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would hope so.
Now, as you already said, Ricky is an exceptional singer. I mean, he can do everything from singing to rolling to screaming. How did you divide the parts on which you would growl or which you would scream or sing more melodically? How do you divide the songs?
Well, actually, when he went into the studio, he didn't really want to sing on the songs. Like he wanted to like have like a lot of screaming, and like I've been trying to get Ricky to sing since we started the band because I knew he could sing. So when he got into the studio, our producer helped out with that as well, and kind of was like, what if we did something like this in the chorus, and they did one like that, and then they did another like that, and then it just kind of like it kind of just came out that way. You know, and if you didn't know, me and our ex bass player sang on most of the EP. That's all me and Taylor. But on this one, me and Ricky switch off quite a bit, but Ricky does the majority of the singing, which is awesome. I feel like if you're the front man, like it's just in personal opinion, if you're the front man, you should be singing. It's your voice that everybody's, you know, looking at and everything like that. Not to say that other bands should be doing that or whatever works for you. But in my personal opinion, I think the singer should definitely take the reins on it. So I'm glad he did.
Yeah, and you did an exceptional job. I mean, as I said, you can do everything and do it exceptionally well done. Now, one thing that it's also sublime is your guitar work. I mean, it can be melodic, it can be aggressive. Were you aiming at that, or did it just happen?
Thanks so much. Yeah, I have always been a melodic guitar player. You know, and you know, some of my favorite bands like are Kill Switch and Trivium, you know, Pantera, you know, those types of bands. And there's a lot of melody in their songs. And I've just always been the guy like, yeah, heavy is cool and heavy is great. But if there's no melody to go along with it, I just feel like, you know, it
Yeah.
needs that. A song needs some kind of melody. But you know, and you know, one of my favorite guitar players is Matt Heafy, and he constantly adds melody to a song. And every Trivium song is also absolutely like heavy, but the way he mixes and mashes, and it's just insane. That's like one of my biggest inspirations when, you know, playing guitar. But yeah, I you know, the melody portion is a huge thing for me.
Yeah, and you did it really well this time, I think. Now, so
Thank you.
far you've released 4 singles. Earthen is the most recent one, and as you said already, it's a song about Ricky's nephew. And when did you decide to write a song about this?
Um, you know, so with Earthen, that was the first thing that I wrote for the album. I had gotten back from tour with, I think we were on tour with Signs of the Swarm and Worm Shepherd, and I came home. I had something in my head and I had to lay it down. So, and like I pretty much I finished that song pretty quickly because I already had an idea of what I wanted to do with it. Obviously, like things changed through the production process, but it was pretty much done before I left on another tour that we were doing. And Ricky kind of sat and stewed because he really liked the somberness of like the intro. He really liked, you know, the overall melancholy feel of the song. So I feel like that's why he felt it was appropriate to add those, you know, add that idea to the song, and it worked out perfectly. It's actually one of my personal favorites. I'm a little biased, but you know, it's a beautiful song. So I was super honored that he would, you know, do that tribute with something I wrote pretty much completely by myself.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, it's the guitar work that you have, you know, very incredibly melodic. It fits the song perfectly well. And another thing that
Thank you.
gives that song another vibe is the video. The video is incredible. Can you tell us who was responsible for it?
Absolutely, yeah. So all of our videos for this album cycle were done by Custom Fabrications and Vicente Cordero. They absolutely just killed every single video that they've done for us. They're an amazing team. Missy, who runs Custom Fabrications, does all like the special effects makeup and everything. And you know, from the monsters in Stained and Rot to the witches and Death of Circumstance, she also helped in Earthen with the cancer makeup as well, which was very it was like very realistic, like to us and like to Ricky. And Ricky made sure, like, you know, going through that, he wanted to make it as real as possible, you know, to
Mhm.
show like, you know, the pain he went through and how the pain his family went through and stuff like that. But yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful video, and it is hard to get through, but it is
Yeah, it's
it is
incredibly emotional.
incredibly. When I
Yeah,
first got it, I actually cried. So
yeah,
um, you know, but you know, I'm honored that they, you know, could do a tribute for Ricky's nephew like that
mhm,
and just make it gorgeous, you know. So I'm
yeah.
very honored.
Also about the video, that the last scene where you can see Ricky in the cemetery. I
Mhm.
suppose, you know, screaming at the grave of his nephew. It's something incredible. Did you made like uh, guidelines you wanted to include that, or did they come out with that as well?
You know, with that one, I think I think Ricky came up with that idea. Um,
Mhm.
and you know, you can that was, I remember the day that he went and did that, and it was, you could tell it was very taxing on him because it's very emotional, you know. It's something like, you know, I could only imagine the thoughts that were going through his head during the whole
Yeah,
filming process for that. But I mean, it worked out great and turned out great. Um, but yeah, I'm almost positive that that was Ricky's idea, but don't quote me on that because I might be wrong.
now, one other thing that is also incredible in Zell, it's the artwork. Can you tell us who was responsible for it and which guidelines you gave him?
Absolutely. So with the artwork, that was also Custom Fabrications. And you know, we were going through what we kind of like wanted on the album, and she actually, that is actually a photo that she had taken a while ago. And we just absolutely loved it and felt like it totally represented like the whole feel of the album and everything like that. And you know, she was kind enough to let us use that for the album, you know, instead of going with an all new photo shoot, which is awesome.
Mhm.
Um, and like I'm thrilled with it. I'm totally in love with the artwork and everything. So yeah, it's that's all Missy again. So shout out Missy at Custom Fabrications.
Yeah, she did great work for this album. Now, in Burden of Faith, you also have some guests. What were you trying
Mhm.
to reach by inviting them?
Honestly, like with with everything, we were just honored that they would even want to be involved with the album. I think pretty much our A&R guy Mike Gitter uh, is good friends with Howard Jones, and I was like, "Oh, do you think we could get him on a track?" And he was like, "Actually, that would be awesome." And I'm like, "I think so too." Like that for me, 15-year-old me is like dying because like I love Howard Jones. It's one of my favorite singers of all time. Uh, and with Alex, Ricky reached out to him, and you know, I know Alex doesn't really do a lot of guest features.
Mhm.
So I was shocked that he would want to do one for us, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then Lindsay from Cradle of Filth is a good friend of ours. So she's on the title track along with our friend Kyle Medina. And of
Mhm.
course, we had to get one of the best new vocalists of our generation, Taylor Barber. You know, and like we love Taylor. We've played shows with him and everything like that. And Ricky and him are also really good friends. I mean, we weren't really trying to like achieve anything really. We just thought we had parts on these songs where these people would really shine through and it would be cool. And like, I was thrilled that they'd even want to be a part of it.
You know, in your first EP, you already had Tim Lambesis. So, I mean, for a pretty unknown band that you were at that time, how did you get such a renowned name?
You know, that one was actually kind of like just lucky too. Like Tim had seen Ricky's transformation from being, you know, a really skinny, thin guy to this massive, like, you know,
Yeah.
beast of a man. And Tim also went through a very similar transformation back in the day. So he, you know, he reached out to Ricky. They became very good friends, and Ricky asked him if he would be on a song, and Tim said, "Yeah, absolutely." You know, so
Yeah.
that's how that one came to be.
Yeah, it's incredible, you know, for such a small band that you were at that time, not now, but that you were at that time. It's incredible. Yeah.
No, totally,
And,
totally.
yeah, and which are your touring plans for this album?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, which are your touring plans for this album? You know, your shows. Where are you going to tour?
We do have shows coming up. So we have a show coming up, I believe, next week in Seal Beach, California, for Jose Mangan's charity event. It's us and another band from Vegas, Spirit World. Then we're going on 3 dates with Bleeding Through and our friends in Salt Wound. That's February 24th, 25th, and 26th. And oh man, I'm drawing a blank. Our album release show, I'm sorry, is in Vegas, March 17th. And we do have a full US tour coming up. I can't say what it is at the moment, but
Yeah.
everybody will find out very soon.
And what about Europe? Which are your plans for now?
Man, I want to get out there so bad. Right now, it's just hoping we get out there, but I mean, hopefully soon, like hopefully by the end of this year or beginning of next year. I really hope.
Yeah, and you know, if the opportunity comes on Miss Portugal, I would really like to see you in here. Any chance, you know, don't miss it.
Absolutely. Yeah, trust me, I want to hit every spot we absolutely can.
Okay, so what about now? What is the next step for Hub Sulfur?
Well, the next step would be to just I don't know, man. We're just here to rock, really. Like wherever that may take us. You know, wherever that may take us, whether it be big, small, medium, you know, it doesn't really matter as long as we get to play and
Yeah,
like share our music with people, I'll be happy. But you know, we do want to leave an impact of some sort. And I think some could argue that we already have, and you know, so I would argue that we absolutely have not. You know, I personally still have we have a long way to go, but you know, wherever that may take us, I'm very happy with.
and I'm sure the road won't take you very far. Well,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Chase. It was an honor. Would you like to send any message to your Portuguese fans?
To all the Portuguese fans, thank you so much for the support. We're going to get out there as soon as we possibly can. I'm sorry we've made you wait this long, but you know, we will be very, very, very stoked to get out there. And much thanks. Thank you for watching, and thank you. I appreciate you.